Let's talk about how to find a percent. How do you find a percent of a number? Well, one method is you're going to turn the percent into a fraction and then reduce that fraction to the simplest form. So if I take 15% of 80, and I'm going to take this percent here, and I'm going to turn 15% into a fraction. We know percent means any number over that 100, right? So then I'm going to simplify 15 over 100. So I'm going to ask myself what number goes into both the denominator and the numerator, and I can reduce this fraction to simplest form. So if you look at this, I know that I can divide 15 by 5, and I'll get 3. If I divide 100 by 5, I am going to get 20. Okay? Now I cannot make this fraction any smaller. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to now take the fraction and say 320 of 80. So I'm going to multiply 320 over 80. 80 will be over 1 because 80 is a whole number. And if I do this, if I say 3 times 80, 3 times 80 is 240. And I say 20 times 1 is 20. So you know that this is going to say now it's 240 over 20. Really, it's 240 divided by 20, because don't forget this bar means division in fraction. So now if I divide that, 240 divided by 20, if I do that, because this is really what I have to do, 20 goes into 24 once. So 1 times 20 is 20. Then I subtract 24. And I have 40, right? Bring down that 4, because I'm subtracting 4. Take away 0 is 4. Bring down the 0. Now I have a new number. So I know that 2 times 20 is 40. And this is the answer, right? It'll be 12. So 15% of 80 equals 12. That is one method of how to find a percent of a number. Another method is you can change the percent to a decimal. Let's look at this one and let's change the percent to a decimal. So I'm going to take 25% and I'm going to change that into a decimal. So that'll be 0.25, double checking, making sure that I have a tenths place and now I have the hundredths place. So 0.25 is what 25% is going to equal. And now I'm going to multiply 0.25 times 540. Okay, so I'm going to do this a different way. I'm going to put 540 up here times 0.25. It's much easier to multiply this way. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 4 is 20. Carry the 2. 5 times 5 is 25 plus 2 is 27. So I'm going to cross out this 5. I'm done with it. Place a 0 here in the second row. And now I'm also going to take away that 2 that I carried. Now I'm ready to multiply by 2. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 5 is 10. Now I have to add these. 8 plus 7 is 15. 1 plus 2 is 3. And here is 0 plus 1. Now don't forget, before you go ahead and say, oh, this is the answer, this is a decimal. So what does that mean? I have to go 2 numbers have to be behind the decimal. So I start here and I go 1, 2. So that is my answer, 135. So 25% of 540 is 135. That's the correct answer. Those are 2 methods of how to find the percent of a number. Let's practice. Let's look at page 288. So 60% of 1200. How I like to do it, because I think it's easier, is I'm going to turn the percent into a decimal and multiply. That's kind of my favorite method, because I can't go wrong. I can't make a mistake if I don't simplify properly. So I'm going to multiply this. 1, 2, 3. I have 3 zeros, and those 3 zeros are going here. 1, 2, 3. 6 times 2 is 12. Carry the 1. 6 times 1 is 6 plus 1. And there we go. We have 72,000. But even though it says that, I have a decimal here. It's not really 72,000. I have to make sure I have what? Put the decimal in the correct place. So I have to count 2. I go here and I count 2 places. And the answer to this one is 720. See how quickly I got that? Now let's look at B, 5% of 300. Go ahead and do it with Mrs. Rupert. I'm going to take the percent and I'm going to change it into a decimal. So 5%, don't forget that it's 5%. It's not going to be 0.5, it's going to be 0.05. Why? Because 5% is 5 out of the 100, so don't forget that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to multiply 0.05 times 300. So I'm going to put 300 here times 0.05. And here we go. 5 times 0, I have 2 of them, so I'm going to put 2 zeros here. 5 times 3 is 15. Now I'm not going to go ahead and multiply the second row because the second row is nothing but zeros. So I'm going to look at the decimal and I'm going to say, okay, I have 2 numbers, okay, that come after the decimal. So I'm going to count 1, 2, put my decimal, and therefore 5% of 300 is 15. Do you see how I got that? Let's try a couple more. We're going to do C and D on page 288. 25% of 900. Okay, so what I like to do is I like to immediately look at my percent, and I'm going to change my percent into a decimal. So there's 2,500, right? 0.25 equals 25 hundredths. Now I'm going to multiply 900 times 0.25. Okay, so 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 9, 45. Then I'm going to cross out the 5, put a 0 for placement. And now I'm ready to multiply with 2. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 9 is 18. And now I'm going to add these together to get my answer. Okay. So I hope you did it with me. And you will have 2 places after the decimal here, so I'm going to count 2 places, and your answer for 25% of 900 should have been 225, and that is the correct answer. Let's do the next one, 40% of 70. Once again, take this percent, I'm going to change it into a decimal, and now I'm going to go ahead and multiply 70 times 40. This one is pretty easy because you have 2 zeros, and you can just put them here as your answer, right? And then 4 times 7, it's 28. Go ahead and write your answer. And that's the correct answer, 28. Don't forget, you have to put your decimal in the right place. I'm going to do the last one with you. This is a larger number, 3,500. Nothing changes. We continue to do the same exact thing. We're going to take the percent, make it into a decimal, and then multiply that to 3,500. It just makes it seem larger because it's a larger number, but nothing changes. We're going to still continue our method. I'm just going to rewrite this. There we go. Times 50. Now, once again, I have a 0, bring the 0 down, and now I can just multiply 5 across and I'm done. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 5 is 25, carry the 2. 5 times 3 is 15, plus 2 is 16, 17. Don't forget, I keep forgetting to make sure that you have 0.50. So 2 decimal places is right here, and so then I count 3, so 1,750 is the correct answer for 50% of 3,500. Go ahead and work on page 289. Make sure you pause the video, rewind, so you can continue to understand how to find percent.